Time for another round of this day in Black baseball history. And we're looking at today is going to be October the 29th, 2025 is the date. So we're going to be looking at things that happened on October the 29th. So just trying to get myself together here. So October the 29th. And so looking at the league here, well, first of all, let me tell you what I'm doing. What I do is this. I come on nightly with a historical fact related to someone in Black baseball that occurred on that particular day. Of course, today is October 29th. And then I give a commentary of something I might remember, something related to that event, which is totally uniquely my own conversation. So, and then of course at the end of my broadcast, I do what we call comings and goings. And so I might feature somebody who was born on this date, someone who passed away on this date, and things like that. So, but I'm trying to give you historic events. This is really like a history lesson online every night. So, guys, if you like information on the Negro Leagues, or say you read books on the Negro Leagues, and I have many. I'm trying to look to see if I have any sitting in front of me. I do have one sitting in front of me. This one is called A Harvest on Freedom's Fields, and I was doing some looking in here. So I have these little tabs because I'm doing some editing, thinking about maybe revising that book and doing something different with it because it has a lot of information. Probably has too much information. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing. And so if you haven't joined me before, hey, now you get an idea of what I'm doing. And I come on live as often as I can. Now also, guys, I am going, let's see, this is probably going on my third month, maybe fourth month. And I'm going for 300 subscribers by the 31st. Okay, so we just got a couple of days. I'm 25 subscribers away. So if you're listening to the broadcast tonight, you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. All right, so let's jump right in here. Let's not waste any time. And I want you to get as much information you can, as in short a period as you can. All right, so let's go to October 29th, 1906. The National Association of Colored Baseball Clubs of the United States and Cuba is formed during a Monday afternoon meeting at the Lions Club, 87 Fleet Street in New York. H. Walter Schlichter of the Philadelphia Giants will serve as president of the association. J.W. Connors of the Royal Giants will fill the role as vice president. Okay, this is one of the early efforts to organize these teams in the East. Now, part of this came out of 1906. When let me go back to 1905. When the 1905 season ended, E.B. Lamar, who had the Cuban X-Giants, he wouldn't play the Philadelphia Giants because the Philadelphia Giants said, we will play you, but we want 100% of the gate. Winner get 100% of the gate. So 1905, the Philadelphia Giants were a powerful team. Lamar didn't want to take a chance, miss the opportunity to miss money on other games that his team could be playing, to play, you know, a series of games and get nothing for it if they lose the series. So he didn't want to play. So the Philadelphia Giants did get a chance to play one game against the genuine Cuban Giants, and then they played maybe about 12 games against the Brooklyn Royal Giants, who had just been organized in 1904. So when they came together in 1906 in the regular season, now this league came together at the end of the season. I'm trying to think of his name. He started a rival team called the Philadelphia Quaker Giants. And so that confused people because they couldn't tell who were the Quaker Giants and who were the Philadelphia Giants. And so if I call this guy's name, you're going to know him real good because right now he has a relative that is working in the Trump administration. And so I'm going to call his name right now. I'm surprised. Jess McMahon. There we go. Jess McMahon. So, and of course, you know, there's a McMahon right now who's over, I think, the Department of Education. So, but anyway, McMahon came in there. He really messed up that whole Eastern circuit by putting that Philadelphia Giants team in. He came in there offering more money, and so some players jumped. Pat Patterson was with him. Let's see who else jumped. Pat Patterson, Jess Binga, he jumped. And then he thought he had Home Run Johnson, but Home Run Johnson went over to the Brooklyn Royal Giants. Then Bill Monroe jumped and went to from the Philadelphia Giants. And at that particular time, Bill Monroe is one of the top players in the whole Eastern Circuit. He's the name that everybody knows, even more than Rube Foster. They knew Bill Monroe's name. So Bill Monroe jumped the Philadelphia Giants, ended up with the Quaker Giants. And interesting thing, sometimes I look at the box scores, and they had Bill Monroe batting ninth. They never could figure that out. This guy's one of the greatest hitters. I don't know, maybe he was injured or something. I missed something. But anyway, that led to this formation at the end of 1906. So that is why they came together, because they're trying to control the finances. Now, it didn't work out like they expected, because the next year, Rube Foster took a bunch of guys and they jumped to Chicago and joined the Chicago Leland Giants. And when he got there, he had talked to Frank Leland. He said, look, if I come, I got to bring my own guys. If I bring my own guys, you got to let these other guys go. And so Frank Leland had to fire his entire team. Rube Foster brought in his team, people like Nate Harris and Andrew Payne. These are stars who were big time. Mike Moore, one of the unsung heroes of many great teams. He brought in Mike Moore. And so when Rube Foster came, those old guys who were the 1905, 1906 Chicago Leland Giants, they ended up going to Minneapolis to start the St. Paul Gophers. And so it's just a crazy time. A lot was going on, but it's important things, because what they're showing is that there are more outstanding African-American baseball players than you can shake a stick at. And so they're able to start all these teams and compete wonderfully against each other, and nobody's really dominant against the other one. So no team could beat the other one. So it's a really interesting period. So at the end of the 1906 season, October 29th, they organized this United National Association of Colored Baseball Clubs. All right, let's go to the next one. October 29, 1911, the Lincoln Giants. And that was a team that, they had a pretty good team. They actually had stolen some of the players. John Henry Lloyd and Pete Booker had come from a very powerful team, the 1910 Chicago Leland Giants, and they're over there. Now, Jess McMahon has this team. So he had a team in 1906. He went away for a moment. Then he comes back 1911 with the Lincoln Giants. And he's flashing cash. So here you steal a couple of people. John Henry Lloyd comes over, and he was just a great player at that particular time. Pete Booker was a pretty steady catcher and a good hitter too. He had been becoming a better and better hitter every year. So they play the Major League All-Stars, and Eddie Plank of the world champion Philadelphia Athletics pitched for the All-Stars, struck out 7, and then he had a hit to win his own ball game. It was a single over the shortstop, and so it would end up being a 3-2 victory. And so I always like to talk about all these guys from the American and National League. There probably isn't a good player worth his salt, Hall of Famer or not, that did not play against these African-American baseball players. Some of them knew them very well, first name basis, that kind of thing. So there you got Eddie Plank, a great player. He's in the Hall of Fame, Cooperstown Hall of Fame, all right? So let's go to another one. October 29th, 1916. Candy Jim Taylor had 4 hits as the Indianapolis ABCs downed the Chicago American Giants in a 12-8 final. And that was played in Indianapolis. And Rube Tyree and Frank Wickware were the pitchers of record for the American Giants, with Tyree getting the loss. Most people don't know about Rube Tyree. I tried to find his family years ago. He was from Liberty, Missouri. And I looked for his family for years because they had a strong presence in Liberty. But of course, I never could find a member of his family. I eventually gave up. But yeah, he was from Liberty, Missouri, a little small town, and William Jewell College is there. And also, you've got Frank Wickware across the border in Kansas, in Girard, Kansas. And what's so interesting is that I presented in both Liberty and Girard before, and Indianapolis, if you want to go back to Candy Jim Taylor. Now, Candy Jim Taylor, most people who follow Negro League Baseball know that he had three other brothers that were playing in the Negro League and black baseball circuit. That would be his brother C.I. Taylor, and also Ben Taylor, and then Johnny Steelarm Taylor. That's a great nickname, Steelarm. And he was, these were brothers, and they were a pretty dominant group. And I know when I was growing up, people used to talk about the Boyer brothers and their connection to the American National League, but they weren't talking about brothers like this, the Taylor boys. They weren't talking about this, and that's why this history of the Negro Leagues needs to be told, because there were legacies. And about anything that happened in the American National League also happened in black baseball. But it took people like myself and other people to begin to tell these stories. So I know lots of ball players who played for Candy Jim Taylor, because he continued to manage up until the 1950s. I remember Aku Papa Bell told me that when he played with St. Louis and Candy Jim was the manager, that Candy was just a great pinch hitter. And he would insert himself in the game and just break up games. But, you know, he might just bat one time. So Candy Jim Taylor. And during the height of the Negro League, he was one of the few non-playing managers in the league. So, but Candy goes way back to before 1910. And as you can see, 1916, he's at his peak. He had 4 hits. And he was the only one who had 4 hits in that game. And there was a pretty good ball player. Oscar Charleston was playing for the Indianapolis team. But, hey, Candy Jim Taylor. Now, I can make a good argument that Candy should be in the Hall of Fame. His brother C.I. is in the Hall of Fame, but Candy Jim was probably contributed more because he was around longer and touched more lives. He was called one of the greatest trainers of young ball players that ever lived during this whole period. If you wanted to change your team around, you bring in Candy Jim Taylor. He could pick up some guys, and all of a sudden, they got a winning squad. All right, Candy Jim Taylor. All right, so let's see. Okay, let's see. How about this one? We're going to go to 1931, and then I'm going to go and start naming some people born on this day. So October 29, 1931, in Winter League play, Satchel Paige struck out 10 of the White Kings during his team's 3-1 win at White Sox Park in Los Angeles. And White Sox Park was known as the home to Negro and colored baseball in Los Angeles. And so in my book, The Negro Baseball Leagues, A Photographic History, I have images that pretty much show you the entire park. And those images came from the Bullet Rogan's collection, and I picked up a few more. And so I was able to get different angles of that particular park. So not only do you see the front of it, but you see the entire park. That's one of the things that book was able to do, just introduce people to things that they had never seen before. I'm quite proud of that book. And so anyway, it's out of print now. Occasionally I get copies, and I will sign them for people when I go out, and I will sell them. So, all right, so that's Satchel Paige. I don't need to tell you much more about Satchel Paige. Everybody knows that he was the oldest rookie in baseball history, 42, and the oldest man to ever pitch a game in the major leagues, which would be with the Kansas City Athletics in 1965. So, yeah, that's Satchel Paige. I could go on and on about Satchel Paige. Just a great name, and actually we're looking at some great names here. Candy Jim, that's quite a nickname. I wonder why they called him Candy. That's one thing I've never been able to discover yet. But I know Satchel Paige told many stories about why he was nicknamed Satchel. So, all right. So let's go to some people who were born on this date. Let's go to October 29th, 1959. Jesse Lee Barfield was born in Joliet, Illinois. He led the majors with 40 home runs in 1986. Around 1986, during that period, I was a freelance sports writer, and I would cover the Kansas City Royals. And I remember on opening day, I think that Toronto played Kansas City, and I think if I'm correct, George Bell, he might have hit 3 home runs that day. I know he at least hit 2 opening day. And I remember going down and to talk to George Braille, and I went down, I introduced myself, and I stuck out my hand and said, George, I want to introduce myself. I'm Phil Dixon, sports writer, historian. And I stuck my hand out, he just looked at me. Never stuck his hand out. He just looked at me. I put my hand down, walked away. Never talked to George again after that. He was too standoffish. But I did get a chance to talk to Barfield and Lloyd Moseby. That was the other one. That was the outfield. They had a good outfield at that particular time. I thought the outfield was every bit as good as Kansas City's, if not better. I'll tell you an interesting story. Coop Papa told me this story. Coop Papa, I was down visiting him one time, and he told me about a ball player that stole second base twice in the same inning, but only came to bat once. So he proceeded to tell me that the guy had got a hit, and he's on first base, and he goes down to steal second base. Well, it just so happens that when he went down, he thought the ball was fouled off. So he actually touched second base, and then he tried it back, and he caught everybody off guard, and they didn't make a play on him. He's back at first base. So he had actually stolen the base. So the coach on first base said, "What are you doing back here?" He said, wasn't that a foul ball? He said, no. He said, you had the base stolen. So he said, okay, I'll just steal it again. So he went down and stole the base again. So he stole the base twice in one inning and only came to bat once. Now, what's interesting about that is that, now, this is not about Barfield, but this is about Moseby, Lloyd Moseby, who was on the team. Same thing happened to Moseby. I'm trying to think. I think I wrote down what year that was. It was probably 1992. August 29, 1992, Lloyd Moseby had stolen, he got on base, stole second base, got down there, touched the base, and the ball was overthrown. And so anyway, he goes back to first base. And so he gets back to first base. I think they made a play on him, and the ball got past him again. So then he goes back down, and he ends up on second base again, having stole second base twice in the same inning, only coming to bat once. Now, there is footage of this. So if you go online, and they have that one on footage, but the first time I heard of a person stealing second base twice in one inning and only coming to bat once was from James Coop Papa Bell, and he had seen it. A lot of strange things happen in baseball. But anyway, that was Jesse Barfield's teammate. But hey, he led the league, Barfield did, with 40 home runs, right? Okay. And let's go to, this is going to be October 29th. We're going to go back to 1895. Silas Joseph Simmons is born in Middletown, Delaware. And Silas played with the Homestead Grays and the Lincoln Giants, and he lived to be 111 years old. He was discovered probably late in his life, like maybe he was 110 years old. And I remember this whole story because all these historians, they say, hey, we found this guy, he's 111 years old, he played, way back, and, he's born in 1895. It's just like incredible find to find somebody like that. And they went down, somebody gave him a big party, and 15 days later, the guy was dead. So, I often wonder, I said, all of that recognition that they gave the guy, did they really kill the guy? With everything that they did. They wanted to get down there and get a story and get an interview. I guess they wanted to recognize him. What's interesting though, guys, I think about when I first started, I was interviewing people back in the 80s who were 95, who were born way before Silas, who were still talking and able to give me good information, still living in their homes. They were in their 90s, still living in their homes. And so when I heard this story and I saw how the historians reacted, it was a little bit disturbing. It's a little bit disturbing that the way they converged on that nursing home. And believe me, there's black people in nursing homes every day. And they won't lift a finger to go to these nursing homes and give those people a party. But because a guy hit a baseball, all of a sudden they think that we ought to give him a celebration. and I felt like maybe they might have killed this guy a little bit too much. That's my own personal opinion, and I'm talking about what I felt at that time. All right, let's go to another one. October 29, 1970, Kerwin Moore is born in Detroit, Michigan. In a major league career that lasted 1 year, 1996, he had as many hits as he had stolen bases. One. But he did score 4 runs. This guy was brought up because he was a speedster. And in the minor leagues, stretched over 10 seasons, he stole 420 minor league stolen bases, and with a career high of 71 thefts in 1993. You ever heard of him before? His name is Kerwin Moore. So guys, these are people, we forget about these people, but they're part of this great history of what we call baseball. And these happen to be African-American players that we're not talking about. So I get an honor, I get the chance to talk about them every night. Somebody different, somebody that maybe no one else is talking about. But I enjoy that, and it allows me to continue to research and find information. So this past week, guys, I've been down at the library doing research on a team in Philadelphia. I don't want to say which team, because sometimes if I let the cat out the bag, all of a sudden everybody's jumping on top of it. So I like to let you see the book when it comes out. But just know that I'm working on some new things. So I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. If you like what we have here, by all means, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and come back and join us again. I try to keep the broadcast down to about 20 minutes. I know, people can't always stay for the 20 minutes, but if you just stay for 1 minute, 2 minutes, if you can stay that long, I guarantee you're going to hear something that maybe you haven't heard before. And that's about the best I can guarantee. I want to thank you, and I appreciate you all. And I'm going to mention just a few people here. The Purple Wizard says hello again. And we got some of the Abby Fieldman. Yeah, somebody said, you're single, what state are you in? No, I'm not single, been married 41 years. And I'm in the state of Missouri. Actually, I'm in Kansas now. I lived in Missouri for 30-something years. And so did a lot of research from there. And let's see, what do we have here? And said, hi, I watched our chance. Okay, I watched our chance in. So, okay, I can't tell them, but they said they like my hat. So hopefully you're still here. This is a hat I like to wear, and I'll tell you the reason why. It has a very short bill. It's one of these with a short bill, where if you had a longer bill, it'd probably be out here somewhere. So this one has a shorter bill, and it's really good for when you're doing these broadcasts because it doesn't hide your face. And so I have special hats with the short bill and that I love wearing. So this is one of them I wear quite frequently. So anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate you coming in. So I'm going to get out of here. I will be back probably tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on Halloween, but I will continue broadcasting. If you like what I'm doing, guys, hit that subscription button. I'm 25 away the last I checked. I've got about 3 days to go to get to 300. Hey, if I get more than 300, I'll be tickled pink. So, all right. So thank you guys, and have a nice evening. And this has been This Day in Black Baseball History, October 29th, 2025 edition.